Stephanie, ready? Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I want to begin by commending President Biden for a career in public service, for a long, long career in representing and serving our country, and for his handling of the many difficulties and challenges, personal challenges and tragedies that he suffered during his life with so much admirable conduct and the empathy that he derived from those experiences, that he was always proficient at showing to the rest of us. I want to add that a little over a year ago, when I entered this race, I predicted that President Biden suffered from a degenerative condition that was not going to improve and that it would make it impossible for him to govern effectively. The reaction of the DNC to that obvious condition was to hide it from the American public and to use their power over the Democratic Party nomination process to make sure that nobody could compete with President Biden in a way that would expose his deficiencies. And as a result, we are where we are today, which is in a period of crisis. And we have two crises, and they both derive from the same condition. And that condition is the emergence of the domination of corporate power over American democracy that accelerated beginning in 2010 with the Citizens United case that unleashed a tsunami of corporate money into the American political process. And both parties are now captured by that corporate money. And they've lost any kind of authentic connection to the American people or to the populist goals of the Republic and of democracy. On the Republican side, President Biden promised the last time around that he was going to drain the swamp. But instead, he came in and he appointed a pharmaceutical lobbyist and CEO to run HHS, Verizon lobbyist to run the FCC, a Goldman Sachs CEO to run the Treasury Department, an oil lobbyist to run the Interior Department, a coal lobbyist to run the Environmental Protection Agency, and so on. And only today, President Trump has announced that in his new administration, should he win this election, that Jamie Dimon will be his choice as Commerce Secretary, and that Larry Fink, the director of BlackRock, will run the Treasury Department. This is the swamp. These are swamp creatures. And his pick as vice president is a salute to the CIA and to the intelligence community and to the military-industrial complex. Their gravy train is going to continue. And President Trump has a connection to the American people, a populist connection, but in many ways it's the same fraudulent connection that we saw with the DNC over the past year, concealing the real purpose of their objectives, which was to give us a president that represents corporate interests rather than the interests of the American public. We've seen two presidents who aren't really addressing any of the issues that are critical to our country. We have, if you look at President Biden and President Trump, you can look at them and say these are very different people. Their dispositions are different, their personalities are different, their expressed ideologies are very, very different. Their approach to politics could not be more distinct. But if you actually look at the policies over which they differ, over the landscapes in which they're staging this election, it's a very narrow Overton window of of guns, of culture war issues, of abortion, of trans rights, etc. And the big existential issues that are actually facing our country are never addressed. The biggest of these, perhaps, is the national debt, which is now $34 trillion. The service on that debt alone is now greater than our military budget. Within 5 years, 50 cents out of every dollar that we collect in taxes will go to servicing that debt. Within 10 years, 100%. This is not sustainable. President Biden, President Trump offer no solutions. President Biden, on his webpage, has no policy issues addressing this or any other policy. He has a picture of himself and saying that we're going to finish the job, but he doesn't tell what job he's going to finish. If it's the job of running up the deficit till it's completely unsustainable, that's something that the American people should know about. President Biden can't talk about it, and President Trump can't talk about it because they're the ones chiefly responsible for running up that debt. President Trump came into office saying he was going to run the presidency as a business. He was going to balance the federal budget. And instead, he ran up an $8 trillion debt, more than all the presidents combined since George Washington. And President Biden is now on track to beat that number. So neither of them are even going to talk about this most existential issue. Another existential issue is our addiction to foreign wars. Both men have said that they're against war, and both men are feeding the war machine. The Ukraine war is a war that should have never been fought. It should have been settled. President Putin has offered twice to settle that war on terms that were enormously beneficial to the Ukrainian people and to the American people and to our security in Europe. And yet, President Putin initialed an agreement. President Zelensky initialed that same agreement in April of 2022. And President Biden sent Boris Johnson over to force Zelensky to tear up that agreement. And since then, it's probable that over 500,000 Ukrainian kids have died unnecessarily in a war that is enriching BlackRock because they own all of the military contractors that are supplying that war. And BlackRock not only has the contract to destroy Ukraine, but it also now has the contract which President Biden gave them to rebuild Ukraine. Neither of these presidents is going to deal with the chronic disease epidemic. When my uncle was president, 6% of Americans had chronic disease. Today, 60% do. Diabetes alone, when I was a kid, the typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his career, or a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 children who walk through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. And nobody's talking about why this is happening. The cost of dealing with mitochondrial disorders in our children, dysfunction, which is diabetes, is now greater than our military budget. The biggest cost to our nation is the cost of treating chronic disease, $4.3 trillion annually. It's 5 times the price of our military budget. And nobody's talking about why did autism go from 1 in 10,000 in my generation and 70-year-old men today, right now, and yet my children's generation is 1 in every 34 kids, 1 in every 22 boys. Shouldn't we be looking into this? Shouldn't we be doing the science to figure out what's causing it? We know that it's an environmental exposure or an accumulation of environmental exposures. Genes don't cause epidemics. There has to be an environmental toxin. And all the corrupt merger of state and corporate power has been overseen by both political parties. It's something neither of them, the capture of our agencies by the industries that they're supposed to regulate. Our regulatory agencies have been turned into sock puppets of the industries they're supposed to protect us against. And all of these are issues that are critical to the American people. And finally, the most existential issue of all, the toxic division that is destroying our country. And President Biden's, the attempted assassination of President Trump this week is a symptom of that toxicity. We're now more polarized in this country than at any time since the American Civil War. And nobody can see an ending to this. If President Biden gets elected, it's going to become more toxic. If President Trump gets elected, it's going to become more polarized. And neither of these men, both of them say, both of them recognize this is existential. But both of them, neither of them can do anything about it. Why? Because they feed on it. They feed it. They fuel it. And they are the products of that division. So we need a leader who can stop feeding into the vitriol, stop feeding into the anger, stop feeding into the marginalization, the polarization, and who can find those values that bring Americans together rather than focusing on these toxic issues that are intended to keep us all apart. And it's the BlackRock, the State Street, the J.P. Morgan who are profiting from that division. The very people that President Trump has promised to appoint to run our government who are profiting on it, because it's like the jangling of keys. They're saying, look over here, look at abortion, look at freedom of choice, look at trans rights, look at gun rights. And while we're all staring at each other's throats on those issues, on the jangly keys, they're robbing the bank over here. They're shifting the wealth upward to this new oligarchy of billionaires. And both President Trump and President Biden engineered the lockdowns. In 500 days, they created 500 new billionaires. And they shifted $4.3 trillion northward from the American middle class to this new aristocracy that we have. And it's destroying our country. We need a change. If people want more of the same, they can vote Democrat and they can vote Republican. The only way we're going to get a change in this country is if people come together behind the one candidate who is independent, who has vowed to have a unity government, to bring Republicans and Democrats and others all together in a way that finds common ground in our country. A candidate who's the only candidate who's pro-choice, who's pro-environment, who's pro-civil rights, and who beats Donald Trump by 14%. There is no other candidate who can beat Donald Trump. Look at all the polls that have been done over the last year. I beat Donald Trump, and nobody else can. Thank you very much.
The bottom half of your tweet talked about the nomination process in Chicago next month. Can you talk about that moving forward, on your kind of thoughts on being a neutral policy on who the Democrats finally nominate?
Well, I care about our country more than I do about my election or anything else. And I think we need political parties that are actually attached to the American people, that are serving the interests of our republic. And if the Democrats do what I suspect they're going to do, which is to anoint Kamala Harris, a vice president who is monumentally unpopular within her own party, but they're doing it because it's the easiest way to hold on to the money, and she's the police. And I think if they don't open up the process, that it really is going to discredit this political party that grew up. I would remember all of my life years. I can break the back of that to create the illusion of a democracy, but in fact, it's a cabal that is choosing the same way the Soviet Union did. Russia has elections. Vladimir Putin wins with 88% of the vote because he controls who can be his opponents. And he controls the media. And the same is true now of our political parties in this country.
Would you open up to the possibility of taking part if there was an open convention? You called for that. Is that something you would consider taking part?
I would certainly listen to the party elders if they came to me. I would discuss something with them. I'm the only presidential candidate who can beat Donald Trump. And if I were them, I would do that. and I would certainly listen to their proposals.
Will you actively seek out that nomination? You're saying if they come to you, but
Oh, I am very content running where I am. And I believe I can win this election. I believe at this point it's a two-man race or two-person race, let me put it that way. And, and that I'm in the best position to win.
And if the polling then shows that you're not in the best position, whoever the Democrats go with, whether it's Vice President Harris or someone else, will you, because what you cite often are your internal polls. So if your internal polls show that you will actually lose, would you step down and step aside?
Well, that's an interesting proposal, and I would consider taking that proposal if the other candidates did the same.
You mentioned Kamala Harris is who you said that the Democratic Party appeared poised to put into that position. You were critical there, obviously, of President Biden's policy. What, if anything, is different? How do you compare yourself to Kamala Harris if she does become the Democratic nominee for president?
Well, I think, Kamala Harris is the party of war. She's a war hawk. The Democratic Party was always the peace party. Kamala Harris is a war hawk on Ukraine. She's a war hawk on China. I think that we should be figuring out ways to coexist with the rest of the world as best we can. Of course, we need to protect our national security. I think she's not going to do anything about the national deficit. I've never heard her speak about the chronic disease epidemic, I think she's a product of the corporate control of our democracy. And she's one of the authors of, in terms of civil rights, she has one of the worst civil rights record of any public official. She's the author of one of the primary authors of the school to prison pipeline. She kept 5,000 people, despite a Supreme Court order that she released 5,000 prisoners of nonviolent drug crimes who were illegally in California jails. She kept them in there saying that we needed them for firefighting and for other public work services. And that's just a modern version of indentured servitude, a modern version of slavery. She was one of the two leading public officials in California, which now has the worst education system, 49th in education outcomes in the country. 50% of the homeless people in our country are in California, and she was behind those policies. I don't think she has a good, I don't think, in terms of the traditional democratic principles, I don't think she has a credible record.
In all the turmoil the past week, you ever had it gone through your mind you regret leaving the Democratic Party? Because with this turmoil, that might have left you as a front runner as you speak today.
Well, I wouldn't be the front runner because by the time I left the Democratic Party, it was really clear that, and this is the only reason I left, that the rules have been rigged to prevent me from winning. So I would be in the same position as Dean Phillips is today, or Marianne Williamson. I wouldn't, which is, sidelined. And the only way that I avoided getting sidelined was to leave the party, which neither of them were able to do.
I go to a lot of your events, and I've heard your stump speech, and a lot of today was your stump speech, but you're still focusing a lot on President Biden. He is out of the race. In fact, at one point you even said, highly critical of President Biden, and said if President Biden, were to win, if Donald Trump were to win, but he's announced for hours now that he's out. Were you just confused, or have you moved on from it? It stood out.
I was making a point about there being very, very little difference between the two parties, and the current iteration of President Biden's policies is Kamala Harris, who has never voiced any differentiation, any distinction between herself and President Biden. I'm not going to, I just made some criticisms of her own policies, but I don't know what her national policy, there literally is no policy on their website. So we don't know what she stands for. My assumption is, according to her, that she stands for all the things that President Biden stood for.
Bob, does today's news affect your campaign moving forward?
Well, I think everything affects my campaign. I can't tell you how, and I try not to make predictions because I try not to do spin. But I think, as any of you can see, that we're living in a very, very dynamic situation now. It's unprecedented in American history. In fact, the closest thing to this, when I look back on American history, is the 1968 primaries where my father participated and was killed. And ironically, the convention, the Democratic convention this year is being held once again in Chicago. And in 1968, the Democratic Party tried to fix that convention with Mayor Daley basically anointing Hubert Humphrey, who was the DNC's choice, and there was chaos that erupted, and it destroyed the Democratic Party for a decade. So I think we have a lot to learn from that history. As I think Mark Twain said, that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, and it's really rhyming right now.
Mr. Skinner, you said you are the candidate to beat Donald Trump. You mentioned that multiple times. Yet, I think for the debate in June, you failed to qualify for that. What is it that you see that makes you confident that you can not only beat Donald Trump, but also whoever the candidate will be in the Democratic Party?
I would point out to you that I qualified for the debate better than any other candidate. Clearly, we all see today that President Biden is not going to be on any ballot. I was on the ballot, and I have enough signatures to be on the ballot today in 29 states. I exceeded the polling thresholds that CNN established. I had 6 polls where I was from their named polling groups, where I was over 15%, and they arbitrarily excluded them. So I believe that I will continue to qualify for the next debate, and hopefully they'll put me on the stage this time.
Let's go.
If you don't make the debate the next time, will you take that as a sign?
No, I'm not going to. That would be the opposite of a sign. That would be the networks colluding with the parties to keep me off the stage, which they did the last time. So I'm not going to cave into that just because, your networks are saying, are fencing me out, which they are. You will not see me on ABC, CBS, NBC, or CNN doing a live interview. They won't let me on. They're colluding with the Democratic Party to keep me out of the limelight. If you remember when Ross Perot ran, he was on CNN every night. That's why he got so popular. I have greater popularity than Ross Perot without ever getting on the network. Only one time have I been allowed on the network in a live interview, and that's with Aaron Burnett, and they never did it again. And we asked them, Stephanie Spears right here, my press secretary, who's on the phone every day with the bookers from every one of those, and they just say, no, we're not going to let him on. So there's a monolithic wall. The television networks that are owned by the public, those airwaves, are licensed to use them, but those airwaves are owned by the American public. We used to have an equal time rule. We used to have a fairness doctrine that would make those networks put me on. But today we don't. Those laws have been gutted, and they're able to just to make common cause with the Democratic Party to make sure the American public does not see a live interview with me.
Thanks, Bob.
I could ask one final question, touching back to the events of last week. I've noticed you have Secret Service protection now. On a personal level, for you and your family, your thoughts on that, having that now as you move forward?
I'm very grateful for it. Listen, it's intrusive for me, so it's like, be careful what you pray for. But I'm very grateful for it because, when my father was shot, there were 6 bystanders shot that night, including Paul Schrade, who took a bullet to his head, one of my father's best friends. And my uncle, President Kennedy, was shot. Governor Connolly was also shot. When Ronald Reagan was shot, Mr. Brady was also shot. So in almost all of these attempts at assassination, and when President Trump was shot last week, there was also a bystander who we all pray for who was killed, and 2 others grievously wounded. Oh, it's very important to me to have the Secret Service here, not so much for my own protection, but to protect people, to dissuade people who might want to attack me and who might hurt or even kill a bystander.
Any final comment, Mr. Kennedy?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you all very much for coming out here on a Sunday.
Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss. Happy day, Kiro, Army and greetings. The road to Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. For all your island news. From a beautiful place with Pacific views. It's always so much fun on Good Morning, Marianas.
Good morning, Marianas. You know, it just feels so weird to not play this song like right after the theme song. You go from having that nice theme song, sounds so nice and everything, to like, let's shake some stuff up a little bit. Good morning, Marianas. It's great to see you this morning. Got to see all you guys in the comments section on all the different channels that we're on right now. And that is a little bit everywhere. That was the press conference from presidential hopeful Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He is one of the three folks that were considered like the top three people who are actually running, even though it's really the two-party system. He's one of those guys that was coming out. And I want to get that to you guys because as I was looking at going live for you, I saw that was coming up. I'm like, holy smokes, that's something big. Because as we all woke up to this morning, President Joe Biden has announced that he is not going to run for re-election. And that's a big deal for us because that was not the case when we went to bed last night here in the Marianas on the other side of the international date lane, where, by the way, it is a rainy, rainy day, which is even more than the rainy, rainy weekend that we had. I'll tell you what, these guys from National Weather Service cracked me up because they said there's a 30% chance of rain today. Oh, yeah, it's there. Take a look behind me. It's been like that since yesterday. In fact, this view that we've got overlooking Lau Lau, whoa, man, watching the storms come in and watching this curtain, this impenetrable curtain of darkness and grayness and rain making its way toward the to the island. Wow, it was just amazing to watch. I mean, like, I never really, I don't often get to see stuff like that. So that was a real kick for me to watch that stuff happen yesterday. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Monday. It's 84 degrees out here in Saipan. Well, at least up at the airport. And it's a little bit cooler in here right now, which is pretty nice. Humidity's at 88%. Yeah, that's because it's raining everywhere. And if you like this weather, that's right. Let's see, what is this? This is July. So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Gonna be a lot of kids being born next April. That's my guess. That's right. It's not because of the Bavarian motor workers. That's going to be because it's a different kind of BMW out here in Saipan. So we're looking at some scattered showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. It was scattered enough to make my dog scatter inside her bedroom when the thunder started going last night. Partly sunny skies, maybe? That's what it says anyway. It doesn't say maybe. Partly sunny skies with a high near 87. The wind's not moving around too much, maybe as high as 16 miles per hour this afternoon. Could get gusts as high as 21 miles per hour. They say there's a 30% chance of rain, but look outside. It's pretty wet. Nothing more than you can say about that. Tonight's going to be more of the same exact thing, only no sun. It's going to be moon. And you probably won't see the moon because it's going to be mostly cloudy skies. 30% chance of rain tonight as well. How about tomorrow? Well, tomorrow might be a little bit better. It might be exactly the same as today. It's probably going to be the same thing. 30% chance of rain. Throughout the week, you're going to see it get a little bit better on Wednesday. Mostly sunny skies on Wednesday. We just got to get to hump day, and then it's going to get nice, and then it's probably going to rain again. So let's look forward to a great Wednesday. Every day is a Monday for caregivers. Oh, Ann, I hear you. Yeah, crazy morning for students going to the bus stop. Yes, it is. I mean, I'll tell you what. Growing up, I was a lucky kid because the bus stop was at my house. That's it. The other kids from around the neighborhood had to come to our house if they wanted to get picked up. Now, there was a bus stop about 5 houses down. Also, that's how often they stopped. And by the way, we were only like 2 blocks away from the school. We had it pretty made. That's for elementary school. We were pretty close to our school, and so that made great stuff for the playground. But everyone would hang out inside our carport. You know, if it was raining, which sometimes it would, and if it was raining in Buffalo, it's cold too. Like here, the rain can be refreshing. I don't remember a whole lot of refreshing rain in Buffalo. I remember that cold, leaves on the ground, bite in the air, kind of cold and rain that just chills you to their bone. That's where you really wear a raincoat. Like here, like in the pouring, driving rain here, yes, I'll end up putting on my little rain jacket and all that other stuff. But for most stuff, you're going to go inside, you're going to dry off in a couple of minutes, and you're going to be fine. But not so much out here. Out here, I just kind of go with what we got. Anyway, we had a heck of a weekend, guys. I'll tell you what, so much stuff happened over the weekend that we can get to for sure. But of course, the biggest story is that President Biden has officially withdrawn from the election, and that is massive. It is massive. What else happened? Also, we had all of the airlines couldn't fly because of this global outage for this software called, we should show you this. It's called CrowdStrike. It's basically this software that all these different airlines use to coordinate flights. Everything's scrubbed. Like nobody could fly. Yeah, that happened here. For us, not going anywhere, kind of Saipan folk, like it didn't really affect us so much. But everywhere else in the world, yes, very much so. In fact, it was crazy. Like right now, there's over 1,000 flights that have been canceled. As of today, there were like over 1,200 flights that were either scheduled to fly into or within or out of the United States that were canceled. And more than 5,000 flights were delayed. And funny enough, 600 of those cancellations were from Delta. Sorry, Bo Tomacane, out there in the mainland. And they're saying it was an outside vendor technology issue. Well, that's crazy. On our Sunday, their Saturday, that was like 2,100 flights that were canceled. And 21,000 flights that were delayed. Yikes. That was absolutely wild. Norman, except for Southwest, since they're still using Windows 95. Well done. Well played, sir. Well played. Oh my God. Yeah, apparently so they were doing one of those system updates. And that got them. Oh man, like I feel like there's that ADHD kicking in right there, right? I was doom scrolling yesterday at one point, and let's see, computer screen. So there was this one that came up, and there is a fake Windows 10 update tool. Yeah, not kidding. Like this is for real. So what you do here, I'm gonna show you guys this, but let me get the graphics that I have for the press conference off here, because you guys don't need that. Boom, boom. Get that one off. Get that one off. And let's get the lower third part off. Yeah, so I had that stuff going on earlier, right? Let's see. All right, so let's just show you what this is. So this killed me. Look at all these. This is so you can see, like, you just say, like, update time. Say you want to take, like, a 32-minute time and work, and we'll just restart. Let's see what it looks like. And what do you do to do this? Do you have to click on it? All that stuff looks good. Okay. Do you just click on it? Yeah, you full screen it. So you set this up on your computer, and this is what it does. So, like, if you guys are at work today, you need to take a break, you just tell your boss, hey, man, my computer's updating. There's nothing I could do. So you get up, you take a walk around, and you get out of there. Hold on, let me get a little of that. Oh, I forgot about that little white part on there. Pow. Bloop. There you go. But there you go. And you set that up on your own to do the, you pick whatever the color is. You set the time, how long you want your break to be. You do that, you walk away, and that's what's happening right now. That is just awesome. I love it. That is so great. Yep. Is that great? I mean, somebody's genius on that one. So, yeah, I'm going to send you guys and it's a NMI News Service Good Morning Marianas exclusive. I'm going to put this in the comment section so you guys can check this out. Ungan. There you go. The fake update. I just saw this like yesterday. I'm like, oh man, I got to share this with everybody. There you go. Give yourself a break. You pick, and the cool thing is, you get to pick how long the update time is and what percentage you want it to start on. So it doesn't have to start on 1%. You know, that's just great. There you go. There's your little tool of fun today. If you need a little bit of an extra break, I'm here to help you get through Monday. I am here to help you get through the toughest start of the week. Again, we got a president who, by the way, they announced that he got COVID. And it just seems like they're really trying to play it up, like he's getting worse and terrible things happening. But the thing is, like, who's testing for COVID now? Like, if you get sick, are you taking a COVID test? Now, I know that they have millions of these tests available, but, like, who cares? Like, we already know what COVID is. I mean, COVID's not a big deal anymore. I mean, and this is not like 2020 at the beginning. Is that a virus? Is that a virus? No. This is like, hey, we already know. We've been through it, right? We've seen what's happened over the past, 4 years or so. And we know that COVID's not a big deal anymore, right? The COVID-19. So when they're like, oh no, he got COVID. He tested positive for COVID. So he's home. Like, who are you talking to? Like, who cares? Okay, the guy's like in his 80s. So that's fine. But that's it. I mean, like, it's not a big deal. Anyway, but it just seems like they're just adding another log to the fire. But they're really sensationalizing it to make it sound like it's the worst thing ever. All right. But it does seem like it is the straw that broke the camel's back with regards to President Biden's reelection bid, because he is no longer running. Now, that's something that we already aired for you guys. We already put it up there on the screen so that you guys were able to see it. We posted that as soon as we got it. Like, literally, I want to say, hey, thanks to Chris. I didn't even get to check my news or anything this morning because I got right from the jump. I ended up getting a message from Chris Tomakane. Hey, good morning, BJ. I got a message from Chris Tomakane that sent me the actual release and everything. Like, who gets that? Who gets that? I got such a great little network of people out there with you guys. You guys are the best. But I got that from Chris. And so it got me off and running really big right away. Yeah, I know. Someone's like, oh, don't focus on it. Stay local. I will. I promise. I will. I'm not going to get too heavy into it. But it is a big deal. I mean, it's something for us to talk about because we just woke up to it. I woke up to it about 4.5 hours ago now. No, 3.5 hours ago now. So it's still kind of fresh for me. And so that's why the thing is big about, like, hey, who are they going to pick? And so getting back to that here, let me, hold on. Yeah, I got to get to the original bad boy here, right here. So when you look at it, here was the statement. So my fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. I mean, come on. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans.
We provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. Passed the gun safety law in 30 years, the first time. Appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. And passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America's never been better positioned to lead this world than we are today. None of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We protected and preserved their democracy. We revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it's been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it's in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision, but for now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. And I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust they've placed in me. I believe today, what I always have, is we beat Medicare. But there's nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember, we are the United States of America.
All right, I know. That was a weak impression. That's what you get, though. I mean, that's it. I'll tell you, though, that's it. Now, here's what's interesting to me. Okay, lots of things are. But what I found interesting is, like, when I looked at all the different headlines, it said that he withdraws and endorses Vice President Kamala Harris. He didn't. You just heard the whole thing. We posted already. We posted his release, his statement online. I think I need more light here. Sorry. By the way, this extra light that I'm about to kick on, oh man, blinding AF. All right, just checking that out. So anyway, I didn't hear an endorsement in there for his vice president. He talked about Kamala Harris once. That's it. The only time he said that, he says, "For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work." That's it. Doesn't say anything about her being endorsed. You know, I haven't, like, that, it's not in there. So to me, just my interpretation of things, you know, watching the in my little crystal ball of what's going on, it says that that's where they're going to go. If all these media outlets are saying that they're going to go in that direction, because they're kind of telegraphing, you know, it's like playing sports and watching how, like, you know, watching game tape of your opponents. You know, in certain situations, there's a tendency for them to go like this. But in like, oh, in this situation, they always run the ball, like every single time. Like, that seems like what this one is to me. Because watching how the media jumped on, and by the way, the people who were like the pro-ist Joe Biden folks in the media were like, abandoned ship, going down. Like, they were all like, no, we're out of here. He's got to go. It's terrible, right? Yeah, all these guests, like, they seemed like they were driving that train. Now, who is telling them about that? I don't know. But that just seemed like it. Like, instead of reporting on what it was, like, we talked about the facts, right? I mean, and we have opinions on stuff too. But I mean, you can't deny what we saw, right? But when all of the stories went from how he's capable, he's confident, and all that other stuff, and all of a sudden, like in a snap, nope, We don't like him anymore. He's done. But now, like this one here, he didn't say in that statement at all anything about endorsing Kamala Harris. And all of the media outlets that I'm looking at all say that he endorsed her. So that leads me to believe that she's going to get the nomination, and she's not going to win. I mean, just get used to settling in that it's going to be a President Trump in 2024 election. I mean, like that's not me waving anybody's flag, any red flag or any of those Trump flags or any of those stuff. It's just like, you see the tea leaves there. Kamala Harris is not going to win. I mean, she lost all her credibility to me when she was trashing Joe Biden in the primary phase. And then when she got named, she said, when asked directly about all the stuff she said about Joe Biden, she just kind of laughed it off and said, oh, you know, that was just campaign talk. Like, come on. All right. It's a pretty massive deal. It is a pretty massive deal. You know? All right, so again, I don't get all into that kind of stuff. I don't get too heavy into all that stuff. And we'll get into some other stuff too. But so I saw that comment in there. Norm, killing me, dude. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, Hans for president. That's hilarious. Instead of the screaming eagle sounds, we're going to hear. If you know, you know. All right. Yeah, I like that. Like watching King of the Hill. Oh, Bobby, no.
My dad says butane's a bastard gas.
I love King of the Hill. Good stuff. All right. Anyway, great question. Is it true DFS might shut down too? Yes. DFS might shut down. There's already been a lot of talks about that locally. It's been in the ether. People have been talking about it for a long time. And these are people who are in that world. And there's no way that, because we're not getting those high-end folks coming in here. So it does not look like they are long for this place. And that's just the state of what we got here. I mean, there are people who literally fly around the world just to buy that $50,000 handbag, right? Just to say, ooh, I bought this one in Saipan. Ooh, I bought this one in Guam. I bought this one wherever at the duty-free stores. You know, this is a limited one that's only available at we're not getting those kind of tourists. Maybe we did, but we don't now. And, you know, I'm not happy to see DFS go. Of course not. They're the nicest place we got. There's that place like right next door. I don't even know what's in there. I've never been in that spot. But it's all high-end stuff too, right? That 3-story building right next to DFS. But DFS is a great place. You know, it's like it's our only mall. You know, it really is our only real mall. Even though most of the stuff is out of the price range of regular folks who live here. You know, whenever I want to feel fancy and get something nice for somebody, like you're not going to find a better selection of like cologne and perfume on Saipan. Like, no, that's the place. You know. All right. It says if Palacios administration is going to count on the military saving us instead of tourism, maybe they can ask military to help businesses stay open until tourism gets better. You know, but, oh, dude, Tobot, bring some over, dude. Anyway, but that question, though, about asking the military to help businesses stay open, I mean, what do you, it's a good question, but, like, what do you think they're going to do? Save for opening up a full-on base over here? Like, the military can't just give out money. But they can help out the community by giving business when they're here, and I mean that's what they do. I mean, what else are they gonna do? Like, you just need to have more military folks here. I mean, they're already helping our local businesses, if you think about it, because they have contracts that go out that are with our local businesses right now, and that's like all the construction work that's being done over in Tinian right now. There's contractors who got those jobs, and then there's people who are supporting those contractors. So like there's multiple levels to that whole thing, right? So there is that, but there's nothing going on over here in Saipan. Now there is the Navy, it would be interested in having a divert option for ships here, like what they're doing at the airport in Tinian. The Navy is definitely interested, if the CNMI has an appetite for it, in having a divert facility for ships as well. Now, that would mean a massive project over here. And they would need to massively redo our coastline / seaport area and everything in order to make that happen. They definitely are interested in doing that, if we have an appetite for it. They haven't presented it, but we had the conversation about it. And if we're interested in it, they would pursue it. That would take a long time to make it work. But what they would end up doing, in fact, we even had some of the conversations with people from INDOPACOM about what that would look like here. And that would be taking, like, you go down the Charlie Dock, you go down to our seaport and everything, our main seaport. Everything south is pretty much spoken for. This would have to go north. Not far north, but it would go north. All the facilities and all that other stuff, think lower base and all that, like by CUC going north, would all have to be a big deal. By the way, if the power plant for CUC got moved, like if they ended up making a new one and it would go somewhere else, that's not even a bad thing. Now, it's a bad thing as far as, like, you know, all the wind typically goes from the east to the west here. So all those generator fumes going directly out over to the ocean is so much better than being over here, over our villages and stuff like that, right? But it's also like, in the event there was a tsunami, I mean, CUC would be just devastated, right? It's not like that's a resilient facility. I mean, you got some massive generators down there, and then, you, like, with that cheap, it's a steel structure building. So, like, all the supports are all steel, but then all the outside walls and stuff like that, I mean, it's just cheap steel, right? That corrugated tin kind of stuff. So they would, if we were going to get a new power plant, they wouldn't keep it there. It's, I think they call it, I think the official term is it's in an inundation zone. And so that's why the military won't develop anything down there at the Puerto Rico area, because it's in a flood zone itself. So rather than put anything there, they would have to move inland. Like if they were going to make a new reserve base, guard station, any of that stuff, they'd move it further inland. The only reason why they put it there then is because that was Department of Defense land in that spot, which they ended up giving back and all that. Not all of it, but ended up happening. Just scrolling back and catching you guys back in the comments, the things that I missed for a little bit there. Peeling says, could it be DFS is foreseeing the economics? Oh, click back up. And tourism at a bleak condition for our CNMI. Oh, I'm sure of it. I mean, look at what they've seen for the last 4 years. I mean, they've seen the start of it coming back, but still, they're at such a lower level. They can't possibly be interested in it and keeping that in. Ann says, I don't think we would get tourism because of the military buildup. I think it would be a scary destination for a family with kids. Yeah, I know it wouldn't be a tourism bump. It wouldn't be, if the military came in, it wouldn't be for tourism. It would literally just be for a presence, and and it would stimulate the economy. I mean, it would happen because there'd be like all these people coming in with federal dollars that aren't impacted by our local economics. They would just support it. They would just be more people who can spend more money, more people who can buy houses. So, like, you know how we had all the Chinese that were coming in here, and they were able to spend more money on the housing. So our housing bubble went up. You know, like the real estate kept going up artificially because they were, I mean, really that whole process was a way of laundering money through this real estate out here. But that would end up, excuse me, coming back a little bit because of the higher, the increased ability for all these feds that would come out here that get housing stipends and locality. Okay, I'm going to check that out in a second one. The next one is, let me go up. Would we have to give up more land, like in Guam if the Navy invests in is military economy the future of the CNMI out of the tourism game? No. By the way, I don't go for it being an either or with regards to the military or tourism. Not at all. There's no either or on that. There's so many places that will tell you that that's not the case. Sure, like Fort Leonard Wood in Kansas, not the same thing, right? But or Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, yeah. But look at Hawaii. Hawaii does not have a problem with deciding which is more important or which will work. They've got tourism and they've got the military, and that's it. Guam's got tourism and they got the military, and it works. I mean, it's not great all the time, for sure. You see these, anytime you get a bunch of young guys boozing it up a little bit and getting together, that stuff happens, right? You get some people who have some trouble. No question about it. No matter where you go. Like we were talking about last week, you get that at USP. Only they're not as young at the old USP. No. You know, I know. So I don't think we make a trade for the military versus tourism. I just think we end up getting another leg to our economic, or another support for our economic platform. Because right now it's only tourism, and that tourism leg is whittled down without getting China in here. So that, they could be here, but they're not here. So you've only got Korea with a little bit of Japan and a little bit of everyone else. And how big is everyone else? Well, like all the military, all the business that's coming in, the government folks that are coming in from all over. That's it. So adding military in there, we got it. I'd be in just theory, just spongy, undefined. I don't know how it would all work out. The theory of it sounds good to me. Just to have like that kind of a presence here, because then you've got, especially down in that area, because like all the roads down there in lower base are going to have to be good, because they have these programs called DAR, Defense Access Roads funding, that would really help everything down there. Like that strip of road that is, I think it's called, is it Industrial Drive, or the one that goes in front of the Enos Peace Park to the troop store and all that stuff. I think those were Defense Access Road funds. And I take a little bit of credit for that, only because I'm like, how come you guys aren't exploring this? When we were talking about the different projects, I'm like, there's funding available for those things, and they're only talking about Tinian and all this stuff. I'm like, look, we set precedents that that's a defense access road, because all these, after U2, we had all these military vehicles that were able to get here due to the LCACs dropping folks off at the airplane ramp that we have, the seaplane ramp, and driving along those roads to get to the reserve center and do everything. Like, there's precedence that this is that defense access road, so it shows that this is it. You don't even have to make a case for it. It's already there. Look at that. Yeah, that's what that is. So I don't think it's a train or a trade. I think it's both. As far as giving up land, I think it ends up going, it has to be a lease. That's what would end up happening. And that would be weird, but it wouldn't be much. And Guam didn't give up land necessarily. I mean, my take on that's different. Guam didn't give up land. The whole relationship between the U.S. and Guam is different between the U.S. and the CNMI. You know, I have a pretty chiseled take on that one, just like my abs. Stop laughing. All right. So our leadership upcoming decisions will help. Hold on, sorry. Our leadership upcoming decisions are going to have big effects on our future, and we need to keep an eye out. Yeah, I agree. Ann says, maybe the military will help build our economy, and then we become a travel destination again with more businesses opening up in the future. Well, guarantee. So, first of all, there's opportunities out here right now. Right? There are opportunities here right now. So there are people who, you could say how bad the economy is, and you're right. But there are opportunities right now. And if you don't realize them, maybe you're just not looking far enough. But there's opportunities to be had in even the worst of economies, period. Now, does that mean that's going to save the economy and all that other stuff? No, but I'm just saying, like, for you, that it's there. There are opportunities there right now. And it's not easy. I'm living that life. But I'm telling you, there are opportunities out there. Now, the other thing is, military wouldn't save the CNMI's economy or something like that, but the opportunities are there. If we ended up doing, again, there's so many things that have to be figured out. I mean, look how long it took to get the divert stuff going. I mean, at the very least, it took like 4 years of some serious tumultuous relationship between the military and our local government to get to a happy result. And that's the $21.9 million to lease that part of, to lease back the part of Tinian that the military used to have from the CPA in Tinian. That took a long way. And that's something, by the way, just that divert program in Tinian, that works for everybody. Yeah, you're going to get some people who are those grumpy people who don't like anything military, and that's it. Meh. Okay, get it. You can't get everybody, right? But everybody except for those people, the same people you see at every single protest, no matter what it is or whatever the topic is, those people, protest is going to protest. But everybody aside from them, everybody else thinks that this deal for the divert is a good deal in Tinian. It's so much better than all that other stuff that the Marine Corps was going to do. Marine Corps, by the way, with their latest plan, they got a good plan, right? The whole northern two-thirds of Tinian stuff is so much better than what was being proposed like 7 years ago. Like, night and day difference. Like, I couldn't believe you would abuse our trust too. All right, that's a good deal. We can live with that. And so there's going to be more money coming to Tinian with all that military stuff. Even though there's not going to be a permanent presence as far as, like, there's not going to be a big base. There's not going to be hundreds of people there. There will be, like, from time to time when they have big exercises. But now they're going to have a place to stay. Now they're going to have better facilities. They actually have training facilities over there. And they got to go into town and buy stuff. And it is different. You go to Tinian, you see those military vehicles driving around in town, popping by the store and all that stuff. It's cool. Ann says, does the PX pay BGR? Oh, I doubt it. It's a little piece of federal land, and they're operating a federal shop. I don't think they do. I don't think they do at all. I don't know is the real answer. I'm just giving you my best guess. I don't think so. That's why the prices aren't insane. They don't have to. All right, so next comment says, the problem is our tourism industry already exists. The military will take time, so we don't have the benefits for a few years. Yeah, you know what? But, okay, so I agree with you. Yes, that will take time. And again, I'm not saying that it's the answer for everything anyway. Not at all. But we, as a community, even though we're desperate right now to have something, we need to get out of that mindset of we need something that's going to fix everything today. You just have to accept that things are going to suck for a little while till we get ourselves out of it. Period. End of story. That's easy to say if you got all your meals squared away. It's easy to say if you got your housing squared away, if all your payments are squared away and all that stuff. If you can't, if you don't have a job and there's no job for you, more importantly, all that crap doesn't make a difference. You just need something now. Got it. But we end up getting into these patterns of this is going to fix everything. We're done. We're back, baby. This is all we need. We just need this peanut factory. We just need this tuna cannery. We just need this garment factory. We just need this casino. We just need this, whatever this is. We are in an endless cycle of once we get this, we'll be fine. Once we get this, we'll be fine. This will fix everything in one snap. Boom. No. Develop like something real. And that something real might be a whole bunch of things. And that's why that having that military option, not on its own, won't save anything. But it's a part of rebuilding what we got over here. So, I mean, I'm for, again, in theory, like, I like the idea of it. I don't know what it's going to look like if it actually happens. The Climb, Miley Cyrus, yeah. That's a song I probably can't play. It'll get copyrighted. Let's see. How about we bring the Chinese tourists back and have military too? Best case scenario. So, yeah, especially if we start selling weapons. No, I'm kidding. I know. We can arm them. No. So, I'm cool with the Chinese folks coming back here for sure. I mean, there's no problem. Like, when you meet the Chinese tourists that come here, they are having a blast. This is such a break from what they have going on. I'm not against bringing the Chinese tourists back in. Have them come here. They can go anywhere now. They're just not coming here. That's it. That's it. And what are we're going to say, hey, welcome to Saipan. Check out our sign by this dude's farm up in Marpy. Like, that's our answer from MBAs when they use that $50,000 from the Korean Ad Hoc Committee. They're like, we're going to spend it on a sign that nobody from the Korean Ad Hoc Committee got to vote on, or on whether or not that's the right thing to do. No, they said, hey, we're going to give you guys $50,000 to work, to do something to stimulate the Korean market. By the way, here's our plan. We already sourced the sign, got it designed, and we're buying it. So just vote yes. Think I'm kidding. I'm telling you exactly how it was there. All right. Hey, I'm telling you, it's not an either or with regards to the military and tourism. It's not an either or, especially even as it goes for China. It's not an either or. They can both be here. People can still come here, and they could still be tourists here. I think the big thing about the whole China thing is that the people who are the most vocal about it just don't want to see a repeat of what happened with IPI, where they came in, rolled over all of our folks with so much influence, backed by a lot of money. Even if all of the individual folks in our legislature weren't personally contacted by them, the people in our legislature were definitely directed by the leaders of their political parties of which way to go on things. Those people were definitely influenced by the folks who brought in all the money for IPI. Without question, no question about it. I have a friend in Guam that could get rocket launchers, but he's in jail now. Maybe, is he the one that was using those rocket launchers to put stuff into DOC? He says, wish the governor was more open-minded about Chinese and military coexistence here. We can find a way. I don't think he's against it. So the question is, I mean, it was not I had other stuff I was going to get to today. But the issue is not if Chinese tourists should come here, because there's already a plan in place to have them. And there's already a vetting system and program that's ready to go in September to get folks in. And even if all that talk about Annex 6 asking for the exception to unlimited flights and all that other stuff, people can still fly here. So the argument is why, I guess there's more than one thing in that argument. And one of them is, if the demand is so over the top to come here, why aren't they coming here already? Why are those Hong Kong flights not full? Why are those connecting flights through Seoul gone, through Asiana? Because that's what that was. I mean, that was all for Chinese tourism. We didn't lose a portion of the Korean, okay, maybe a small percentage. But that whole deal with Asiana and losing those flights, that wasn't a big loss for the Korean market. What that was is a loss for the Chinese market that was flying through Incheon to come here. So the proponents of everything with regards to the Annex 6 conversation, those folks want to get direct flights from China to here. Right? And get the cap removed. And they say that even if we did write that letter and we got the approval, it's still going to take months before that whole thing helps. right? So if the demand is there, how come those flights were empty, right? Because people don't want to connect on a flight. People connect flights all the time. So that's. I think that argument's kind of weak. I do. I don't know why. Would I prefer a direct flight over one I need to connect? Yeah. But I think the bigger question is, if you're going to try to, if the flight's going to be the same to go to Hawaii, wouldn't you rather go to Hawaii? Probably. How about Guam? Probably. We got to get our house in order. We got to get people to want to come here. And really take a look at who we are and what we do and do that well. It's an identity crisis. CNMI's got one with regards to tourism. We're reading different newspapers. Hold on, let me see if there's something else on there. No, yeah, I'll tell you, I've listened to the governor talk about this stuff. And he doesn't say to me that we can't have Chinese tourists. And I'm hearing directly from the folks who are super heavy in to get this whole Annex 6 stuff fired off. Getting that exemption in place. And they know it's going to take a long time. They know it's going to take months before we see the fruits of that. If we got it today, Pete Buttigieg signs off on it today. Still going to change. We still have to do that. Ramp up that whole marketing machine and get people going. I'm telling you, the people most directly related to this told me it's not an instant fix. Once that's in place and everything's going, that'll be fine. But right now, it wouldn't fix us tomorrow. I mean, that's it. It's true. That's by the way, VJ, Zoe says hi. She's at school now. That's a message just came in from your uncle. All right. Yeah, and that's a good point. What if President Xi ordered his people not to come here? Oops. Well, that could happen anywhere, really. I mean, we're not dependent on them. Again, the people who are most against the China stuff and the people who are in the governor's ear about that China stuff, really their biggest fear, as I understand it, is a return to life under IPI. That's it. It's Chinese influence from state-supported businesses. That's 100% what it was. That's it. They literally, that is the big thing. Sadly, we need $1 million per year of tourism peanuts compared to Disneyland numbers. Yeah, I know. Yeah, IPI. It's like IPI a day. I mean, that's what this thing's about with the whole China stuff. China. Chinese tourists are great. Like when you see them having fun. Not the best drivers. They're not. And I'll tell you, if we're going to have those kind of tourist numbers, we need to have the right facilities available to folks. You can't just have like a porta potty, one porta potty in a place. That's it. And then no porta potties at other places. Like I'm telling you, it was nasty. When we had more Chinese tourists here, we were not ready for them. You know, everyone's talking about like, we need to get their numbers up to this 500,000. I get it. That's cool. We got to be ready for that crap. Literally that crap. Because the tour companies were busting out machetes, cutting trails into the Tongan so that they could just defecate openly in the trees. No facilities at all. That's Ladder Beach. Yeah. And a lot of our tourist sites, we had to put signs to tell people not to poop on Tapachao. You think, don't forget that. There were like no pooping signs in Tapachao. Where do you see that in the world? Where do you see that in the United States? I don't remember seeing those kind of signs anywhere until I saw that. It was pretty funny just to see the signs. But those signs were up on Tapachao. And people were just pooping in the woods. You gotta have a facility for them if it's going to be a tourism place. Otherwise, we don't care. And who's coming here for that? Nobody comes here for that. They might come once, then they experience it, and then they're not coming back. That's it, guys. That goes to like our sporting events too. Accessible facilities over signs. Yep. And of course, it all comes down to who's going to pay for all that stuff, right? Just revamp what you're doing. Start from the ground up. If Field of Dreams has taught us nothing, it's that if you build it, they will come. Just get your stuff together. They'll get here. You're going to need more than a sign. Right, Dan? We need stuff. We don't need the world's largest Ferris wheel. But we got some natural beauty out here. Let's make this legit. All right. I didn't even talk about like hardly anything yet. We did talk about a lot. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop thinking about how we could do better today. And we're going to start telling you about a way you could do better about yourself by going to the island's newest fitness facility in the village of Salinkanoa. That's right. You know where Aquarius Beach Tower is? You can't miss it if you're driving in the south. Look right in front of it, and you're going to find a place that will pump you up bigger than that building. It's Laddie Built 24-hour fitness. It's there for you. It's there for your friends. Your friends are already there. How come you're not? You got to go check it out for yourself. They got the latest equipment. They've got the great free weights. They've got great facilities. Heck, they even have an octagon. They've got a sauna. They've got a cold plunge. They've got spin classes. They've got the bikes. They just have everything. And they've got the supplements to keep you fit too. They got all kinds of gear, but you need to go down there and see it for yourself. And when you go down there, tell them you heard it from us. That's an important part too. Tell them you heard it from Good Morning Marianas. Tell them you heard it from the NMI News Service. Heck, just tell them Brad sent you. But go down there and see that for yourself, because Laddie Built Fitness, they're getting people jacked. And you don't have to be jacked. Just feel better. Just start moving. Start going. Check it out today.
Is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness the proof. We do what we do by the rules in the book. Be a laddie where discipline and vision is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness the proof. We do what we do by the rules in the book.
It's a great day to be up 3-0. I'll tell you that. Probably is not great to be down.
I'm Brad Rosala, and I'm the owner for Commonwealth Communications.
And I am Jojo Alipuzu. I am the owner of Island Image and Motion.
And this is our joint venture, Sideline Studios. This whole concept that we have of doing all these live stream productions and covering news and doing live shows and everything, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have a great partner like IT&E, someone who can handle the bandwidth and provide it and then get us what we need when we need it, and then be a real partner for us for all the events, whether we're doing live sporting events, broadcasts. All of these things happen because of our partnership with IT&E.
With IT&E providing us with the fiber and point-to-point and even the MBRs is just a great piece of equipment to use when we're broadcasting our sports, our events, our performances, especially our cultural performances. And it's just great to share our culture here in the Marianas with the world. And ITNE has been there from the get-go.
The thing I like best about working with ITNE is how willing they are to come out and find a solution. Even for Liberation Day, we thought we had a pretty good solution for our live stream setup, and it turns out that we did not have the right setup that we thought we needed. That day, just before the parade, reached out to Paul and said, here's our situation. What do you think? He's like, we're gonna figure this out. While he's sitting there barbecuing, getting ready for the parade to start, he starts burning up the phone lines, calling everybody in ITNE, what can we do, what's the right solution? They left their families to do this stuff and get us the equipment that we needed to broadcast live. That's over and above. That's on a holiday. That's when he was out there spending time with his family.
That's why ITNE is just the best, just really in touch with the people and the community.
I recommend ITNE to everybody. Tell them the options are there, and you can choose whoever you want and then figure out what you think is the best. But when you're ready, when you're tired of having your calls disconnected or not having service, then you reach out to the guys from ITNE.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine.
I'm not gonna lie, that song goes hard. Hey, that's great. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Welcome back. It is Good Morning Marianas, and it is 8:41 a.m. here in Saipan. Thanks for sticking with us through that commercial break. Let you know about a couple of the folks who take care of us over here in the CNMI. Laddie Built, the good folks over there, and check out their new facility down there. You're missing out if you haven't been down there in Chalacanoa, right in front of the Aquarius Beach Tower. It is awesome. Also, thanks to ITNE, the guys giving us all the bandwidth to make all this stuff happen. That's right. No matter where we are, whether we're catching fish or catching people who are catching fish, or whether we're at baseball, whether it's this show right here, whether it's the parade, you name it, wherever it's happening, ITNE is the one who's providing us with all the communications to make that stuff happen. They could do it for you. All you have to do is ask Blue. That's right. Hey, this is something that's happening this week. You heard about the LPK coming up. It's a tournament that's after the passing of Jerry Tan's mom about 3 weeks ago. Well, now they've got all these teams who are here who are going to be playing here in the CNY, and it's pretty cool. We had this team that was here from Japan just recently with the LPK with that's Shomare, Belmare. Oh, man, I can't remember. The Japanese team that was here, the Tuloy Football Club from the Philippines, and Chelsea Football Club's soccer school, and then CNMI. Well, now this is more stuff that's coming up. The NMI, Guam, and Mongolia. These are three teams that are part of the East Asian Football Federation. And that's where we got our start with the CNMI football program in the EAFF. Then we got all growed up getting in the AFC, which is the Asian Football Confederation. So we're so close to becoming officially FIFA. And then that means Dad'll let us drive the car from time to time. Anyway, the games start tomorrow, June 23rd, where the NMI is going to take on Mongolia. Mongolians, look out. This is going to be the women's U21 teams for all of them. So the NMI is going to take on Mongolia at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And then on the 24th, Mongolia is going to take on Guam at 6 p.m. This is all going to be at the National Training Center in Coblerville. Awesome facility. Then on June 25th, NMI is going to take on Guam at 6 p.m. On the 26th, Mongolia is going to take on the NMI again. 27th, Guam against Mongolia again. And on the 28th, going to wrap up with Guam versus the NMI. It's going to be good stuff. It's the Women's U21 Three Nations Cup. And it's going to be good stuff. If you're a fan of soccer at all, if your kids play, if you play, it's a great opportunity to go out there, cheer for the people that you know, and watch some of the rising stars in our region that you probably don't know already. Folks that you're going to see in our national level competitions coming up for years to come if it's the U21, for sure. Even my favorite child was out there playing. I'm sure that she's going to be out there too, which is funny because that is my answer to my children ask me, who is your favorite child? Between Keone and Leilani, they say, who is your favorite child, Dad? Now, you can't tell them which one is a favorite, even if you have one, which, by the way, is pretty crappy. You can't have a favorite kid. Unless you're like the bad guy in the movie says, after one of the kids passes away, you're like, I wish it was you. It should have been you. No. All right. But literally, the kids ask me that question, and I'm like, no, come on, Dad. I'm like, no. You got to pick who is your favorite child. So I told him it was my niece. She's not even your kid, Mike. You didn't ask me who's my favorite of our children. You said who's my favorite child. All right. It's B. Now, this is funny because, you just got to turn the table on them. Now neither one of them feel bad about being less than the other one. At least they're on the same team. And then my niece now feels like the coolest because she's my favorite child. And so much so that when she was playing against her sister, the younger sister is like, well, if I beat her, will I become the favorite? I'm like, this is the best. This is the best. There you go. Deflection. There you go. Anyway, the games are starting tomorrow for the next few days. And you can go out and see my favorite child, who's not my child, go out there and play in these games. So, it's the CNMI, Guam, and Mongolia. These are the U21 females playing against each other. They're going to play each other twice in each game. And should be pretty good. Go CNMI, for sure. Guaranteed somebody who's involved in the game. Whether it's maybe you're one of the coaches, you're close to one of them, maybe it's one of your relatives who's actually playing or supporting. Like, guaranteed you are touched by somebody who's in that group somewhere. So it's good stuff. It is good stuff. Anyhow, that's what I'm seeing. And I would say to go out there if you can. Sure, the weather might be challenging, but, at least they got a covered place out there. Bring an umbrella anyway in case it gets crazy. You can just hide behind it while you're up there in the bleachers. But you're going to get a great view of it from the stands. It's not bad at all. I would love if we were covering it, but I'll tell you what, when we cover it, it's a lot of work. And we have covered the Marianas Cup before, and it was a lot of fun. But again, the setup is pretty massive and pretty involved for us. We covered 4 games over a couple of days. So it was like, I think it was last year. It was August 3rd and August 5th. So 2 games on the 3rd, 2 games on the 5th. At least 8 hours for each between getting there, setting up, and the break time, the game, and then the break times in between the games and the other games. For 2 days with a big crew, we had to set up like 3 levels of scaffolding where the bottom was There wasn't anything at the bottom. The middle floor, we had all the production gear. And then on the top floor, you had Trey and I with our laptops and monitoring substitutions and the feed and all that stuff. And we had one of the cameramen up there. And around the field, we had camera people. And it is not like with baseball where you can do pretty well setting up a static camera. I mean, I guess you can. But it's so much better when you got the guys down there shooting like real close-up shots of people with the ball so you could see those 50-50 battles. At least we had to build up that higher tier so that we could get a really great vantage point to shoot the game. I mean, and then we were watching the monitor so we can really see it too. Plus, we were right there on the field, albeit elevated, so that we could do an effective play-by-play. I'd love to do that again. Okay, question. Brad, what's one possible manufacturing that would match our islands? I have not really thought a lot about manufacturing gigs here. You know, well, first of all, without like a specific industry yet, the best one is one that can help us instantly with shipping, right? If we found a way to send out a ton of stuff to take some of the edge off of the expenses that we have for shipping, that would be pretty massive for us, right? Hold on, sorry. I think that would be a big one. Just checking to see. Sorry, I had some messages came in. 1 second. Okay, that's one. Yeah, sorry guys, I missed a few of your things there. Yeah, all right. Okay, there you go. A mega data center. I don't know. What could we manufacture here? I mean, first of all, ideally, I would say it's something that where we've already got, right? Like, what are some of the resources that we've got here? And no kidding, like, if we could come up with a great product that we can already do from here, it would be excellent. Because think about, like, what do we have a lot of? Holy crap, we got a lot of coconuts. No kidding. That's not even talking about the Northern Islands, which are insane, the amount. Like, in Pagan, oh, my God. If you guys haven't been there, you have absolutely no idea. You know, in Saipan, we've got a couple of nice coconut groves. What they have in Pagan is off the chart. There's more stuff that they can deal with. And imagine if that was managed where, you know, they clean up the bottoms, they take out the stuff, you know, take out the ones that fall, and you can do stuff with them too. It's just incredible what's going on over there. That incredibly fertile soil and all that. But coconuts, I don't know other than coconut oil, and I like eating coconuts and all that. Like, if there was something we could do with that, that would be great. See, an Amazon facility for this region, though, so the thing about that is tough for me is that you still got to ship everything here. And where are you going to ship to? Like, there's no, like, if I'm thinking about it in terms of my limited understanding of that, like, where are you going to, the amount of money you'd be sending everything to for shipping just would skyrocket if you're Amazon. You want to be cheaper and closer to where you're at, right? Like, and who's your regional people, like here in Guam? And so wouldn't you rather be in Guam, but especially in Guam, you could buy the land outright as opposed to here? Although there'd be a tax benefit to being here, you still got to ship everything. So then Amazon would have to get bigger into the shipping business with regards to here in Guam. I think it'd just be too hairy for them to mess around with it. I wouldn't mess with it unless they could figure it out and try to solve things for a limited customer base over here. I mean, I know a lot of people here do buy things online. I mean, I'm one of them. But still, I don't think it's enough, like Amazon enough. I love the idea of having something, but so you'd have to bring something here that people can put together to send somewhere else. Or not. You know, I mean, like, if I'll tell you what, here's something that would be great. If you could package energy and transport it It'd be a great place for it. I know they have those massive places like out in the middle of Arizona that are like massive solar farms and all that stuff. They melt birds that fly in the way. But like if we had something like that out here, that would be great. But the world doesn't have that kind of stuff yet. A great industry for out here. So, here there's a thing that I think would really help us, right? And I am not able to speak about it super well. But if I can get one of these guys to come on the show to talk about it a little bit more, I think that's a great idea. So years ago, one of my buddies, one of my really most trusted friends, told me about this idea he had. And it was about bringing or writing some trust law legislation for the CNMI. And this is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. And the people who have trusts in the states, they move their trusts based on like percentage points for taxes and stuff like that. So South Dakota, it currently has the most trusts in the United States. Like people set up their trusts based out of South Dakota. And the reason is because their tax law. But South Dakota can't touch our tax rate. If we set up the right trust law, then here, like, sure, people would move here, but not a whole lot to have their businesses here. It would almost be like how Delaware, they have one office in Delaware that is not, it's one physical post office, but it's like for thousands and thousands and thousands of businesses out of there. That would end up happening here, but we would end up making money off of just a little piece of them having that trust in here, and we wouldn't have to do anything. I believe when we were talking about this years ago, the CNMI would basically just have to write the legislation for do this, and they would move their trusts to here. And South Dakota couldn't touch it. I'm telling you, they couldn't touch it, and nobody can touch them. And it was like we wouldn't have to do anything, and we could have between $100 to $500 million for our budget that would come in from fees from this every year. Then who cares about tourism? I mean, we'll have it. But we'll have the money to develop proper tourism places, and then we take it. And then we take care of that identity crisis. The hard part is that nobody understands how this stuff works. None of the elected folks that we have appreciate that this is the right way to go because they just don't understand it. And you know what? Me too. I get it, but I don't get it all the way. You need to have some of these folks, so they were having this conversation with Jimbo, and not that Jimbo. We're talking about Ivan Blanco before he passed away. And then the guy who was really championing this stuff ended up moving away. But that is a real fix for here. Now, the people who I was speaking to, there are actually people who didn't think it was a good idea. They're like, oh, there's going to be money laundering, all that stuff. Hey, that crap's going to be here no matter what. People always trying to get around stuff. But this is a real way to put money into our economy that is not tourism-based, and it's not one company that's going to walk over us or anything like that. We're going to get a ton of money coming in here. A ton. Could you imagine if our CNMI, just from fees alone, again, not doing stuff, got an extra $100 million? That would double our budget right now. But this has the potential of being like $500 million a year. How independent is that? Right? Not being on our knees for anything. You talk about that $500 million that we got from ARPA. Imagine getting that every freaking year. That's just from trust law legislation that we could push to start luring folks to come here. Not only does that do that, that would end up sparking our construction business, as people would end up wanting to have fancy new places for their corporate headquarters that happens to be in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. We'd be pretty fancy pretty fast. That's exactly it. We would just get a small fee for managing it, and then we would get through the money that comes through. It's a absolute win, guys. And that, by the way, isn't some shyster thing. Hey, this is it. This will fix everything. I mean, it does kind of sound like that, though. I don't mean it like that. But that's it. That's essentially what that is. So that is the thing. Yeah, $500 million enough is enough for the economy. Heck yeah, it would be. And again, that's just because these guys who move their places off of like percentages, fractions of a point, because of how it affects them. That would be it. You know, that Helmsley Trust that was here, you know, that's taking care of our hospital and stuff like that. Imagine having like thousands of them here because of the tax advantage. And then because they're here, they would end up giving stuff back to us too. Just like this. These guys have no relationship with us other than they had a chance meeting at a heart convention. American Heart Society or American Heart Association. Imagine now all those kind of trusts are here, managing all that stuff. Tobot says, Tinian's hiring like crazy for the buildup. My nephew said no one wants to work because he was there to train for heavy equipment. I don't know what the rate was, but I posted on our NMI News Service page about that Tinian was hiring. And I don't know if you guys saw that. Yeah, that was a mistake for them. But I don't know that what the rate was because it said competitive rates. But I was doing the math on it. There's an online calculator for overtime and all that other stuff, and you put in all the hours. So I did it just even as a minimum wage job, right? And this is for unskilled laborer, right? It's at least it's going to be minimum wage, federal minimum wage, right? But you wouldn't say federal minimum wage is a competitive rate, right? So it's got to be more than that. But the specifics said that it was it's 40 hours a week. It's 6 days a week, 40 hours a week plus 20 hours of overtime. So that's 60 hours a week, 10 hours a day. So you're guaranteed your rate for 40 hours, plus you're guaranteed your overtime for another 20 hours. You end up getting 2 weeks vacation out of the year. You get all the paid federal holidays as well. They pay for your meals. They pay for your meals every day as well. And that's in Tinian. You got to pay for your own housing, though. That was unless something's different about it. You got to pay for your own housing if you go over there. But holy crap, that's the best paying job that you can get. An unskilled laborer, that's like you're not even like a skill. It's not like you're a carpenter, you're a mason, you're a plumber. No, an unskilled guy is getting that kind of money. You guys should be jumping all over yourselves to go to Tinian to do that stuff. Not you guys, but, you know, like people should be jumping all over themselves to get that. Get yourself a house over there in Tinian. You don't even have to buy it. No, just rent it. Get a good deal. You got to hang out in Tinian. And don't worry, well, there's nothing to do. Yeah, work. You're going to be working your butt off. You get 1 day off a week. Go down to Chonia. Go down to Taga Beach. Go check it out. That is a good deal, guys. I'm telling you. And they do have other positions. You know, there are other skill positions out there. You guys, I'm telling you, Tinian. Tinian's the place you got to go. You know what we haven't done the whole day? I haven't given you any of the updates from the Associated Press. There's only one, so that's good. I'll tell you what. So on Sundays, today is their Sunday. There's only one. Let me just see if they have another one, because I already got the one for today. But let me just see if they had another one that came out so I can give you something newer. No, it's the same one. So why don't we do that? I'm going to get myself let's see. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, all that stuff's good. Let me get you the latest from the Associated Press first, and then we're going to move on because while that's playing, I'll get myself another cup of coffee. I love this coffee, and you guys should love me for loving this coffee.
AP News for this Sunday, July 21st. I'm Jackie Quinn. Political shockwaves in the U.S. today as President Joe Biden announces he's stepping away from his re-election bid, although staying in office until his term ends next year. His efforts to recover from last month's disastrous debate with Donald Trump were not taking hold.
I know right from wrong. I know how to do this job.
More from our Sagar Magani.
President Biden has ended his re-election bid and is backing Vice President Harris for the Democratic nomination. In a social media post, the president writes it's in the best interests of party and country to stand down and focus instead on the rest of his term.
This voter, David Strong in Oregon.
I think it's best. I didn't see him beating Trump.
The Democratic National Committee is promising an orderly transition. Now the Democrats who'd been nudging Biden out of office are praising him for making that decision. In other news, a wildfire near the state capitol building in Salt Lake City, Utah, has forced residents to evacuate. Fire officials say windy, hot, dry weather is fanning the flames.
The wind direction and just the temperatures out here and the fuel moisture, kind of a recipe that we could have a quickly running fire.
Some 200 acres have burned. Authorities have identified a 26-year-old pilot who crashed near Niagara Falls after a group of skydivers had jumped. 26-year-old Melanie Georger did not survive. At the British Open, Xander Schauffele is the winner.
Schauffele had been quietly efficient all week until the final 9 holes when the 30-year-old put his foot down with birdies at 11, 13, 14 and 16 and challenged the field to keep up. They couldn't. I'm Graham Agars.
This is AP News. Charges against a rapper and his mom.
I'm Archie Zaraletta with an entertainment update. Musician Sean Kingston and his mother have been indicted in South Florida on federal charges of committing more than $1 million worth of fraud. They face similar state charges after their arrests in May.
I saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Micah Monroe is making her name with movies like Longlegs, but she failed a lot of auditions for Disney Channel shows first. Monroe says she's glad she did and glad her mom believed that acting should be fun.
She really ingrained in me, it does not matter if you get this job, we don't care. It's the journey.
These are the qualities we see in Mulan.
Chinese-born actor Chang Pei has died at the age of 78. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Repeating our top story, President Biden announcing on social media he is stepping out of the presidential race, but he will serve out the rest of his term in office. I'm Jackie Quinn, AP News.
All right, welcome back, Marianas. That was your latest update from the Associated Press, keeping you updated with all the stories that you need to stay in touch with the United States and all around the world. The Associated Press. We play them every day. We get you guys their updates, and hey, they thought we were cool when we were covering all that Julian Assange stuff. So I'm like, all right, we're pals. Yep. Man, Tobot, you are right. That visitation story at Deep OC was just wild. That's right. Eliza Matagoli, she was accused of bringing meth with an F. She was scheduled to meet with someone who's in jail already, and she was trying to apparently, according to them, sneak in some stuff. The only question is, I was going to say, how is she trying to get it in there? That's a tough one. Yeah, it's tough. It says that, she was trying to go visit one of her friends over there, and she ended up having some Ziploc bags on her. It had some crystal-like substance as she was entering the facility. She's going to see her pal. I don't know I don't know if that's the official term of who she was going to visit, but someone that she knows. And then I think they went and checked out her car, too, after they found that on her. It wasn't a whole lot, apparently. It was like 2.37 grams, street value of about $350 to $400. So it's not like going out there and making $1 million kind of stuff. But they said that she operates the vehicle whenever she goes to corrections for a visit and drop-off days. Ah. So apparently they did a sweep of the vehicle. They got a warrant for it. And they found, all the stuff that I guess you would normally need for all that stuff. I don't know what all that stuff is, but they're very detailed in this story when they talk about everything that's in there. I don't know all of it's important to the story. But a whole bunch of these Ziploc baggies that had stuff in there. The stuff that was in the truck, though, a little bit bigger, like 8.5 grams, street value of $1,000 to $1,300. Yikes. That's crazy. Yeah, that is telling. I mean, if you are bringing meth to jail, and it's for a prisoner, right? You must you got to be really deep into that guy, or that is not just a drug mule thing. That's like crazy, right? Like they got to have something on you pretty heavy for you to even think about it. Jeez. It's wild. If that doesn't tell you that the meth problem is real, that is crazy. That's messed up. Yeah, Toba, that's messed up. Both of you guys are killing me. That sounds like the way Mike Tyson would say it too. Yeah, I'm with you. That's hilarious. And terrible, right? We don't wish anything bad on anybody, and it sucks that you see that people that stuff's got it's hooks into them. Just terrible. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. We didn't get into also. Oh man, so hold on. We could talk about what today is. There's cool stuff going on about today. Today is Mango Day. That's not the Marianas Alliance of Non-Governmental Associations or Organizations. This is just mangoes, like the fruit. But you guys were talking about Carabao and stuff like that in the comments earlier. I mean, that's it. If we had a great mango export business, but it's seasonal, right? I mean, but I'll tell you, I love the mango. Oh man, I got a tree full of them right now. And when my previous neighbors weren't into them at all, so that was great. And my current neighbors should be, but I'm surprised that the only reason why I haven't gone out and taken a whole bunch of them is because I didn't want my new neighbors to feel like they couldn't get them. I want to share them. They're right there. It's a tree that's right on our street. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you guys get them too, for sure. But anyway, I love mango season. My favorite season because it's so good. And then grab as many as we can, peel them, and then freeze them so we can eat them throughout the year. Because then you got all those months where you got nothing. And boy, how lucky are we to live in a place with all these fruit trees? Really, I mean, how lucky are we that we can get food for free here just from what's around? Growing up in Buffalo, you don't have that stuff. You can make a little garden and stuff like that, but you can just go off into the boonies to find yourself coconuts, avocados, mangoes, bananas. Dude, we're surrounded by food. It's not helping me. But we've got it. All right. Well, we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about before we get out of here. And so let's talk about a little bit. We talked about it. We had Selena Babauta, senator from Saipan. She was on the show last week to talk about the ruling from Judge Pro Tem Arthur Barcinas that disqualified the Attorney General's office from the prosecution of former Governor Ralph Torres. He was charged with misconduct and contempt. Misconduct, really going about the first class tickets and all that other stuff. And then we had the Assistant Attorney General, James Kingman. He was in here with us last week also to tell us about his take on it. And really interesting stuff. In the meantime, we've got... yeah, I see that. No, that's good stuff. The we put on our page the actual ruling from Judge Barcinas and the statement from the defense. And while I do have that, you know what's funny enough? I didn't actually make a slide for it for you guys. Here, let me put that on here just in case you didn't see it. And because I'm going to talk about it. And I want you guys to see it for yourself. Okay. Well, I got you everything else. So you just got to feel good about that. Okay. Marconi plays the Mamba and listens on the radio. Don't you remember we built this city on rock and roll? Yeah, man. Did I put it under this one? Sorry, guys. I promise you I have it. I had to in order to put this stuff up there today. But I made a special folder for it. And that's what I'm looking for right now. Made it for July. I know. Just be patient. It's not on the desktop, is it? It very well may be. No. Well, sometimes I got it. Sometimes I don't. Sorry, guys. Like, I know it's on here somewhere. And for some reason, I just can't find the absolute perfect one that I'm looking for on this one. Oh, you're welcome. It's called professionalism. Where are you, Brad? You're nowhere. I mean, it's a great time for me to throw. I'll tell you what. Let me find it. I'll come right back to it. In the meantime, I'll give you something else. I do have a way to punch out for this one. I'll play the. Well, I don't have another AP news update to give you. I will give you the AP Sports update, and when I come back, I'll have that slide for you.
AP Sports, I'm David Schuster. Another busy baseball Saturday, and we start out in Seattle, where there is now an undisputed leader in the American League West. Jim Bernard fills us in.
The Houston Astros claim sole possession of first place in the American League West with a 4-2 win over the Seattle Mariners. The Astros trailed 2-1 in the seventh inning, but Jake Myers hit a two-run homer to put his team in the lead as Houston took just 25 games to turn a 10-game deficit into a one-game division lead.
I just think we've adopted, just trying to win the game in front of us. Don't really worry about anybody else and handle our stuff in here, play together, and just try to win. And I think we're going to keep doing that.
Yainer Diaz added another run for the Astros with an eighth-inning home run. A two-run homer by Julio Rodriguez accounted for Seattle's scoring. The Mariners have now dropped 5 straight games.
And from the West Coast, we move down to South Florida, where Dave Ferry tells us about some great pitching.
Luis Severino and 3 relievers combined on a 4-hitter as the Mets downed the Marlins 1-0. Severino sparkled over 6 innings, allowing 2 hits and 3 walks while striking out 7. He worked out of jams in the first, 4th, and 6th innings, stranding 2 runners each time. Severino said he worked well with catcher Francisco Alvarez.
Just be on the same page with Albie. Commanding the zone, making good pitches and in big situation, and I think that was the key today.
The lone run came in the 4th as Pete Alonso doubled and scored on an RBI fielder's choice by Alvarez. The Mets entered a 2-game skid, won for the 6th time in 8 games, and improved to 26-12 since falling a season-worst 11 games under 500. Edwin Diaz picked up the save, and Rod Munoz took the loss.
And now we move up to Pittsburgh, where Josh Roundtree tells us about a hot Pirates team.
The Pirates won a 6 straight game, topping the Phillies 4-1 Saturday night behind 7 strong innings from Luis Ortiz. The Pittsburgh righty didn't allow a run and only surrendered 3 hits as Derek Shelton's team picked up the win.
To go 7 shutout against that lineup, you have to be able to execute pitches, and he executed all of them probably about as well as we've seen him. And I mean, he's been good over this stretch since the whole year, but since he's moved to the rotation. But tonight he had everything going, and he did it. He kept one of the best offenses in baseball off balance.
Andrew McCutchen and O'Neal Cruz homered for Pittsburgh, now 50 and 48. The Phillies got a late homer from Bryce Harper, his 22nd of the year, but Christopher Sanchez picked up the loss, going 5 2/3 innings.
In Cleveland, Dylan Cease was on his game, allowing just one hit with 10 strikeouts as San Diego blanked the Indians 7-0. Here's San Diego manager Mike Schilt on Cease.
Can't ask for much more. I mean, pretty much dominant back-to-back outings tonight. Just in complete control. Fastball, serious life to it. Secondary pitch is amazing. Took a little off the slider a little bit tonight, which is effective as well. I thought he was tremendous, A++.
And we now move to the Bronx, where Colin Lochran tells us about the Rays and Yankees matinee affair.
The Rays grabbed their first win of the second half with a 9-1 victory over the Yankees. 2 home runs and 3 RBIs from Randy Arozarena highlighted a productive day for Tampa Bay's offense, and they also benefited from 7 scoreless innings of one-hit baseball from starter Taj Bradley.
Yeah, I just get excited, like when they lose, and that just close that gap. I think I said it yesterday, but yeah, I just get excited about those days. Tomorrow hopefully get another win, win the series, and then take it to Toronto, do the same thing, get the division opponent.
Yankees starter Nestor Cortez surrendered 6 runs, and New York's lineup only mustered 5 hits and scored their lone run in the 9th inning. The Rays are now 49-49, while the Yankees are 59-41.
Elsewhere around the majors, Detroit 7-3 over Toronto, Oakland 8-2 over the Angels, Baltimore doubled up Texas 8-4, Kansas City 6-1 over the White Sox, Washington edged Cincinnati 5-4, Arizona blanked the Cubs 3-0, Colorado nipped San Francisco 4-3, Milwaukee 8-4 over Minnesota, the Dodgers 7-6 over Boston, and St. Louis and Atlanta split a pair, the Braves taking the opener 3-2, the Cards the nightcap 9-5. Golf and basketball is next. American Billy Horschel has a narrow lead after 3 rounds of the British Open. Graham Agars has the roundup.
The 37-year-old Horschel will lead into the final round of a major for the first time, that after embracing the cold, wet and windy conditions on a brutal day at the Open. Horschel rode his short game to a 2-under 69 and a 4-under total, 1 shot clear of 6 players tied in second place. PGA champion Xander Schauffele heads that group at 3-under. Fellow Americans Sam Burns and Russell Henley among those with him in joint second place. Scotty Scheffler is at 2-under, just 2 off the pace.
And Horschel says he's excited going into Sunday's final 18 holes.
I've worked my entire life to be in this position. Listen, I've been in the lead many times going into a final round. Obviously, this is a major. It means a little bit more. We all know that. But I'm excited to be here. I've wanted to be here my entire life. I'm finally here.
Basketball, it took a LeBron James layup with 8 seconds to go as the U.S. men's Olympic team escaped with a 101-100 victory over South Sudan in exhibition play. And the WNBA All-Stars got 34 points from Arik Ogunbowale, all in the second half, as they defeated the women's U.S. Olympic team 117-109. I'm David Schuster, AP Sports.
Okay. It took me a while to find it. It definitely did. And to figure out how to do it. But I got it, and I'm here, and hopefully you guys are still here. All right, so this was the statement that was released by the former Governor Ralph Del Leon Guerrero Torres' legal team about that decision handed down by Judge Pro Tem Arthur Barcinas. It says, and there it is in all its glory. I just got to pull it up in a little bit bigger version so that I can see it and I can read it. That's nice eyes there, Brad. I know. Hold on. But I sent this to somebody earlier, and so I know I can see it bigger. Hold on. Boom. All right, so it says, and I'll turn this down a little bit more. In fact, I don't know. I got something better for this. Hold on. Where is it? No, not that. There we go. All right, this is regarding Judge Arthur Barcinas, Judge Pro Tem Arthur Barcinas, who's here in CNMI to deal with this case. After all our local judges recused themselves. This is the case against former Governor Ralph Del Leon Guerrero Torres, and this one's about his misconduct in office with regards to his travel and the contempt charges and all that stuff. So, contempt charges were out, but this was more about what's going on with the travel. So this is the press release that came out over the weekend from the defense team for the former governor, and that's Viola Alpuzo, Tone Ogden, Vic Torres, and Matt Hawley. So combined statement It says the CNMI Superior Court has reaffirmed the fundamental principle of the rule of law by ruling that the office of the Attorney General has a conflict of interest and must be recused from prosecuting former Governor Torres. The law is clear that an attorney cannot both advise a client and therefore prosecute him. This decision aligns with the court's duty to ensure fair and impartial legal proceedings, adhering to established legal standards and precedents. The court's ruling is consistent with past precedents, including the prosecutions of former Governor Fittiel and former AG Buckingham. In those cases, the OAG recused itself or agreed to withdraw due to conflicts of interest. These decisions have all recognized the harmful and unjust effect of allowing the Office of Attorney General to prosecute its own client, the CNMI governor, and has emphasized the importance of maintaining a system of checks and balances as mandated by the Commonwealth Constitution. By recusing the Office of Attorney General, the court has upheld the principles underlying these past prosecutions of high-level government officials, ensuring that prosecution of former Governor Torres proceeds fairly and lawfully. The decision does not dismiss criminal case 22-0050 or any of the charges against the former governor. Instead, it guarantees that a trial will be conducted fairly and lawfully, fulfilling the judiciary's responsibility to decide matters based solely on the law. The decision reflects the court applying the guiding and binding legal principles to the facts as opposed to making a decision based on politics, which unfortunately some believe is the judiciary's role. That came from the legal team, and that is a fair statement. That one, to me, sounds pretty fair. So we've had a few things happen since the ruling came out, which is great, is that we've got a pretty good understanding of how this works. Now, I just read the statement that came from the legal team. I did extend the invitation to the legal team to come here, and they're like, no. In a good way. That's not in a good way for them. They think it's just in the best interest of their client not to speak about the case, especially while it's still happening. All right, fair enough. No problem. But just so it's out there, I mean, like that, we invited them to come in here and join us and to talk about it a little bit more, to give them the same kind of understanding that we got from when Senator Babauta came on here and then when Assistant Attorney General Kingman came on. So we want to give them equal time to talk about that stuff. They declined, and, no problem. But, again, they issued this out. So in the interest of fairness, we wanted to make sure that they could come in and talk about it. Same amount of time, as much time as they want about it. And, they just said that while they might have appreciated doing that, they just didn't think it was the best thing to do for their client, to bring it about during the show. And that's fair with me. I think, I would love to have him on. No kidding. Because, you look at the people on there. I know, like, those folks. Matt Hawley, I don't really see him as much anymore. I used to. But I know him, and, he's got a good kid and just a good dad. So I know him from, he used to play soccer with us too. Vic Torres, and, he's the brother of the Gov, and he's does all the family stuff. Gotta love him. And then Tone Ogden, man, known him since before he went to law school. And get to see him, it's really kind of cool to see him go off to law school and then come back and then serve here in the Commonwealth. And Viola Alapuza, who's had just about every high-level spot, working with the governor, working with campaigns. She was the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army out here. She just does a lot of stuff. And, of course, the governor, right? But they just think it's in the best interest of them of the client not to come in, even though that they probably prefer to come in and talk all day about it, at least not while the case is happening, maybe after the case is done. But so that's it. That came out from them, and they thought it was a good deal. And, when you look at the ruling, it did cite like a couple of different things that, it was more evident to folks who probably follow the news a little bit or follow the law a little bit more. Trying to get a law degree in 90 minutes is kind of tough, right? You're not going to get it. People don't go to law school for 90 minutes at a time. But there are some things in there that are pretty clear with regards to the ruling that makes some sense too. Oh, is that on there twice? Well, anyway, one of the things, and we posted the whole ruling on there so that people can read through it themselves. It's 16 pages. Some people that'll seem like a novel. Some people that's like nothing. Either one, wherever you are on it, that's cool with me. But one of the things is they kind of explained it in this one part that we highlighted in our post today. And if you followed all the way back to the AGO hearing, or not AGO, JGO hearings back in the House in the previous term, so a couple of years ago, you would hear that when Attorney General Manabusan came on, he did say that he offered some counsel about this. And so that was something I thought was interesting. Like, he said that he advised the governor about this during those hearings, and I was wondering, like, how do you do this? Like, I don't know how they're going to rule on it. Again, the merits of it, did he do it? Should he have not done it? How's that going to go? I don't know. But I do remember hearing that and watching that. Maybe I could pull up that clip. But in this case, the judge is basically saying, hey, look, you can't advise the guy to go one way and then turn around and bring charges against them. And if you do, you got to be screened off. And so that's a big definition. That needs to get cleared up for folks too, like screening somebody off, and what are the rules about screening somebody off from those kind of things, and what's an effective screen. That's for those guys. I know that says in the law there's things that you have to do in order to do that, but essentially there should have been some sort of written documentation of a conflict that needs to be presented to the court, establishing that, hey, this is the person who's going to deal with this, and I've screened them off from everything. They can't talk to me about any of this stuff. Also, not just that part, but where it goes to the client itself, his former client, the governor, saying, hey, look, the office is going to look at this again, but I've appointed someone else to it that I won't be involved with at all. So, like, none of the stuff that we discussed will be used improperly. And so that's it. So anyway, but getting to the point, it says right here, this is from Barcinas, Judge Barcinas' ruling, says the court found that in its order that Manabusan, having advised the governor on the subpoena regarding charge 14 and then abandoning said representation, be easier if I say this better for you. He said the court found that AG Manabusan, having advised the governor on the subpoena regarding charge 14 and then abandoning said representation in expectation of the Commonwealth's prosecution against him, effectively switched sides, and that not only was his disqualification imputed to the entire Office of Attorney General, but because he had changed representation of his client in anticipation of the pending client, no amount of screening would have been sufficient to allow any member of the Attorney General's office to participate in the ensuing matter, and that's why he ended up doing this. So it's interesting. So it's like the entire Attorney General's office is out now, no matter what. He said there's no way you can screen. Now, the Attorney General's office disagrees with that, and that's where this is really going to go to the Supreme Court. Like, hey, we screened ourselves. Screening being like, he can't talk to me about this stuff. I can't talk to him about that stuff. But that's going to be the part that they battle in the Supreme Court. That part of it makes sense, right? If you've got an attorney who's representing you, you're giving all kinds of info to them about that. And then says, hey, now I'm going to prosecute you. All right, that's not fair. Well, that's the office that brings charges against people. So how are you going to deal with that? Well, that's what they're going to have to sort out. So now the other thing is that the Office of the Public Auditor can bring these charges. Remember what happened with Governor Fithiel and Ed Buckingham? The Office of of the Public Auditor went ahead and did this stuff. So that can happen. So again, what I thought was pretty fair about that whole statement from the defense was that hey, this didn't like wipe away any charges. Nobody's, innocent for any of this stuff, right? Or nobody's guilty either. But they're saying that. Where is it? I want to make sure it says right here. The decision does not dismiss criminal case 220050 or any of the charges against former Governor Torres. Instead, it just guarantees that it will be conducted fairly and lawfully. It's just saying that it can't be done through the Attorney General's office. Now, my question is, if the main issue is that the governor received counsel from the Attorney General and he said it was okay, that doesn't seem like big enough. Someone's out here measuring our windows. Isn't that weird? I'm guessing it's for like typhoon shutters or something like that. But anyway, if the main issue is that the Attorney General counseled the governor on that and said it's okay, and then is bringing charges, you would think that the governor's got a pretty solid defense for like that advice of counsel, right? But if it's not about that, if it's about conflict, because the governor could have told him any number of things. Well, with regards to this stuff, I don't know. I don't 100% see that part, but I definitely get the part about being advised one way and then coming about it and then prosecuting about it based on that advice. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how that shakes out when they do the appeal in Supreme Court. And we'll see how long it takes the justices to come up with a reply on that stuff. All right. I got to ask these guys what's going on. You see the guys walking out there measuring all the windows. Oh, my God. I am definitely curious about what's happening. You know what? People have their reasons why they do or do not like Mondays. I'll tell you my reason I don't like Mondays. I don't like Mondays because the Shack is not open. The Shack is open Tuesday to Sunday. Tuesday to Friday, they're open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And on the weekends, they're open from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So that's 8 to lunch, right? 8 to noon. But they're not open today. Today's a great Shack day. Oh, my gosh. We're going to have to wait till tomorrow to hit the Shack up. I mean, it's food served with love. Kind of like how Marianas Eye Institute used to have their stuff saying it was excellence with love was the way they would end up do it. Yeah. Oh, they're going to retint, Tobot says, because it's too nice for the entire building. I know. Hey, it's like, Tobot, the work that you did on our windows is like when you clean a spot off or you paint like one section of a house, of a room, and you're like, oh, crap, I got to paint the whole thing because everything else looks bad. That's what happened, dude. You just made our office all fancy. Everyone likes it. Yeah, I can see that for sure. All right, hey, let's talk a little bit of. We only got a little bit of stuff left to get through today, and we can call it a day. We were going to have a meeting with the good folks at OVR. They got pushed another day away, but we do want to talk a little bit about what we got going on with the Saipan Baseball League. Sorry, Millie, I waited as long as I could, but I got nothing for you. Here we are. We are now in week 15. Oh, man, did I get to the Natives Blue Jays? I did. I just didn't update the score sheet here. So let me do that because I did get the results of that game last time. So, I want to give you guys a rundown. I don't know if they're going to be able to play tonight at all anyway, but at least I can give you guys a heads up on where everybody is now with regards to the playoffs. We'll pull up the stuff that I got from Sean. I think it was 17-2. It was 17-2. All right, so the Blue Jays on Thursday ended up winning 17-2. They were going to have a makeup game on Friday. And so let me see if I can get that result. Hold on. Good morning. Do you have the results of Friday's game? Question mark. Ooh. Oh, no, I missed out on the I forgot all about it yesterday because of the weather. All right, well, anyway, let's talk about today. If the weather holds up, the Padres and Braves are playing today. Okay, and there was no game on Friday. Thanks. So the Padres and Braves are going to play today if the weather is good. No, it's canceled already. Ooh, good to know. Thanks so much. Yeah, so that's coming in from Shine Tenorio. He's one of the organizers for Saipan Baseball League, and he said tonight's game is canceled, and that's got to be rain related too, right? So let's just go ahead and blue all that stuff out the way I normally do. And this weather, that's what happens. Rain. All right, and let's update the scores and everything like that. So Natives and Blue Jays, right? So the Blue Jays improved to 5-4. They've scored now 62 runs on the season and allowed just 55. The Natives fall to 0-8. Oh, that's a tough one. They've scored 38 runs on the season now and allowed 92. Okay, so how does that work for the standings? Well, the Blue Jays are still in 7th place. That's where it is right now. So nothing changed in the standings. Everyone is in the same spot. Let me make this as of July 22nd. So the playoffs look like this right now. 1 second. Move that out of there. All right. So Falcons, Cardinals, Bandits, Padres, Sandlot, Braves, and Blue Jays. If the season ended today, those are the teams making it to the playoffs. Just on the outside, the Royals are at 4-4. So the Royals really need the Blue Jays to lose their last game. That's the only way the Royals make it in. And the Royals have to win their last 2 games. That's the thing that's there now. Even if the Blue Jays, because I think the Blue Jays beat the Bears already, right? Let's just make sure about that. Bears and Blue Jays, did they play? That's going to be the only determining factor to give the Bears a chance to get in, because I know they needed Blue Jays, Cardinals, Blue Jays, Bears. Oh, no, my gosh. So check this out. The Bears did beat the Blue Jays a couple of weeks ago. So if the Blue Jays lose their last game, who are they playing in their last game? So we got some drama. Blue Jays, who do they play last? No. Where are they? There's Blue Shark. Am I missing a Blue Jays game for a makeup? Was that the makeup game? We're missing a makeup game. I think that's what it is. We got a rainout game. And no. Sorry, guys. Just 1 second. We're going to find out. Okay, Blue Jays, Sandlot. If the Blue Jays lose to Sandlot and the Bears win their next 2 games against the Padres and the Braves, then the Bears are in. But that's a tall order. The Bears beating the Padres is going to be a big one. So the Bears are still alive. The Bears are still alive in the playoff race. Wow, man, that's going to be something. So there is a chance for them to get in there. The Bears, so it's crazy for that last spot. So if the Blue Jays win, forget it. They're done. They're in control of their destiny. Blue Jays win their last game of the season. They are in. If they lose and the Bears win, then the Bears get the last spot. The Royals, did the Royals play the Bears? Let's find out. Because if that's going to be a really weird thing, where the Royals lose the tiebreaker to the Blue Jays, but do they lose it to the Bears also? Let's find out. Royals, White Sox. Looking for all the Royals games. See if the Royals ended up playing. There's the Royals against Blue Shark. Royals, Natives. Looking for Royals, Cardinals. Come on, Royals, Blue Jays, and Royals. We knew they lost to the Blue Jays, but did they play the Bears? Royals and Bears. And the Bears beat the Royals too. So there it is, folks. If the Bears win their last game, even if the Royals would have to win both of their games, but even if they win both of their games, they would need the Blue Jays to lose. So those are the only three teams that got a chance. The Blue Jays, the Royals, and the Bears. The Bears got to win no matter what. If they do, they'll have the tie break. And then if the Royals go 6-4, then they're in, unless the Blue Jays win, because they lose the head-to-head matchup against the Blue Jays. If the Blue Jays lose, if the Blue Jays just win, they're good. That's all the Blue Jays have to do. The Blue Jays have to win their last game. And then they're in. There's some baseball folks, man, I'll tell you. And the Blue Jays, a good team, but they got to beat Sandlot, and that's not going to be easy. So now you know. You like the baseball stuff in the background? I know. It's almost like we're there. All right. So let's see. What do we got? All right. Hey, I got the results from Sunday. Man, hold on. Thank you to Charles. Thank you. So yesterday, lousy weather day, right? But there was a bike race that took place yesterday. There was also MRA motocross going on at Cowtown, and we just got the results from there. And we got them from Charles Cepeda, so thanks so much. Cookie Alvarez is going to send us a bunch of info too. But this goes to the points races that they have, and it goes with like the kids. You got the mini ATV, the Powerpuff Girls, the Mini 2, the big boy ATVs. Then they got the women's, the veterans, the novice. Who else you got? Intermediate, the experts. Wait, Ponce Rasa is a novice? What? He's good at everything. I can't imagine. But that's great info that we got. So thank you, Charles. We'll put that together for you. See if we can't make a graphic and make it fancy for you. Hold on. That gives me an idea. So let's take this and forward that. Root for the home team if they win. And it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. All right, well, there we go. So we're going to put together a cool graphic for that and get you guys some info so we can tell you what's happening with the Marianas Racing Association. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Charles Cepeda, for sending that over. We'll make sure that that's out there for you. We'll give you guys a good playoff picture, good rundown for the Saipan Baseball League, as well as we've only got 2 weeks left of the regular season, and we are all in on the playoffs. And tonight it's rain. I wonder if we don't push the season back, because although like tonight's game is already canceled, there's another makeup game that needs to get played. So I wonder if they don't push the playoffs for an extra week to get through all this stuff, because tomorrow's weather doesn't look good either. And next week, there's already a game Monday through Friday. They also have makeup dates available on Saturday, so that could be part of it. All right, I think that's just about it, folks. I don't know if I've got anything else I wanted to get to you. There's some stuff that I guess I don't need to get to till tomorrow. I'll call that like what they call the old evergreen, because it can last. You know, it'll be still good news tomorrow. We talked about the flights being canceled. We talked about all the cool stuff in our local stuff. Let me just see. We talked about that. The mini cup that we have going on right now. And is there anything else? Oh, man, we didn't talk about the president from the Philippines, but you know what? We could talk about that tomorrow. We got time to talk about that tomorrow, because we got to meet her. She was here, and that was pretty cool. I got to meet another president. Check on that box. And I also got some lunch out of that, too. Not too shabby. All right, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But what we're going to do now is start making our way out here. Well, I'd say thanks to everybody for tuning in today. And we will see you guys tomorrow. And 7 o'clock in the a.m. right here in the good old NMI News Service. I want to say thanks to you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys again. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Good morning, Marianas.
Where discipline and vision is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness the proof. We do what we do by the rules in the book. We be a lottie where discipline and vision is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness the proof.